Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being patient with us. We're sorry we got a little bit of a late start here. My name is Donna Bidlack. I am the program director for NAMI Citrus,
Turn
and we are
left
so
onto Deer
glad
Drive. Then you'll take
that
your first
you.
left onto West Haven Avenue, New Lenox Road.
I'm going to mute you, Miss Jones. Okay, so we are so glad you all are here. And we had approximately 40 people register for the series, which is amazing, but also requires some quick housekeeping before we get started. So during our presentation, please keep your microphones muted and use the chat to ask questions. There will be opportunities to ask questions. We just ask that you please use the raise hand feature, and we will do our best to call on everyone in order. We're looking forward to an information-packed and engaging session, and we just want to be as respectful as possible to everyone here, especially our speaker. So, of course, we can't do this without a quick shameless plug for NAMI. If you're new to NAMI or to NAMI Citrus, we encourage you to check out our website at namicitrus.org for information, resources, and other upcoming events. I will put that link in the chat. If you would like to know more about NAMI Citrus, you can use the website or reach out to me by email. I will also put that in the chat. And then also make a note that our next speaker series presentation will be on Monday, March 23rd. So it is now my sincere pleasure to introduce our speaker, Miss Annie Ehler. Annie lives in Ocala, Florida, and has worked in the medical industry for over 10 years. And Annie has a deep passion for patient health and wellness and prides herself on supporting providers, office teams, and organizations such as NAMI to aid in the fight against depression and bring hope and joy to patients' lives. Miss Annie, it's all yours.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I am Annie Ehler, as she stated, and I started my life career, let's say, in teaching. I was an elementary school teacher and a middle school teacher, and then after about like 13 years of teaching, my husband, who I've been married to for 27 years, worked for Delta Airlines, and he had an in-flight. Something happened, hurt his back. He ended up being our stay-at-home dad on disability. So I had to kind of figure out like what I was going to do with my life and where I could best um, serve people and still have that teaching ability, and which is what I really enjoy doing. And so I got into pharmaceuticals. And the first round I was in with central nervous system, I worked with Alzheimer's and I worked with depression. So I learned about synapses and connections and how all of this works, and really starting to have this understanding that there's really a twofold opportunity when it comes to mental health. One side of it is the chemical side, which is the medical side. And then the other side is that therapy side, and being able to work through and talk through different things that are difficult and challenging in life, so that we can reach the end result, which is to just simply wake up and be ready to enjoy the day and be ready to tackle our challenges and move forward. So then I and I that's where I've been for the last 10 years. And so now for the last year, I've had the pleasure of getting to know Perry Thomas, working with her at Strive, and working for the company called Axsome Therapeutics. And Axsome is a central nervous system based company out of New York City, which is currently getting pounded in snow. Lucky we're not there, right? And Axsome has the product called Auvelity, which is for major depressive disorder. They also have a product called Sunosi, which is for daytime sleepiness, and then another product called Symbravo, which is for migraines. So, and we just continue to expand, and it's a really exciting field to be in. And so I'm so happy to be able to chat with you all today, because what NAMI does is you are the touch point in the community. You are the friend of the friend, or the daughter of the mother, or the sister of the brother that connects with people that start to say things to you like, I just don't really feel like getting up and going today. Hey, do you want to come out with us? We're going to meet at the park. We're going to go meet at the coffee shop and have a coffee. No, no, thanks. I just don't really feel like it. Or you're the one that connects with somebody that spent 25 minutes explaining to you why they couldn't get out of their car and go into Publix and go shopping, right? And it's also the education side that NAMI provides, and that's look, depression doesn't mean that I'm sitting in the corner painting my nails dark, thinking about how I want to just end my life because I can't take it anymore. Depression is every single day, and it's simply it can start that deep with having those types of thoughts or ideations, or it can be something as simple as, I don't remember why I walked into this room. I'm so tired at the end of every night because I have to go to this job that I don't enjoy. Like, why don't we enjoy that job? I don't have any goals set for myself. I just have this overwhelming sense of pressure that's like sitting on my chest all the time, and I don't know why. And it's you being the friend or the colleague or the ally that can hear that in somebody and then direct them to the right place to get help, right? And so that's what I really like about NAMI and being able to participate this way. I also had the opportunity to attend the state NAMI presentation that was last September, which was really awesome. So I was able to start getting connected with some different individual organizations. So what I'm going to talk with you about tonight is depression. So I want to start with first a little bit about what I've already mentioned are those symptoms of depression, right? And we have a scale that is like it's what's it called? It's like a rating scale. When you think of, if anybody's ever filled out a PHQ-9, and it's just like very simple questions like, what did you do today? Did you do anything to enjoy yourself? Did you did you feel happy today? Do you have energy? Are you sleeping too much? Are you not sleeping enough? Right? So any clinician that you talk to, from primary care to somebody that's actually in psych, asking those questions like, were you able to make a decision on anything today? Were you able to decide that you want to wake up or go for a walk or go to the grocery store or go to work, right? What did you do to enjoy yourself? So, without me seeing all of your faces out there, like nodding your heads and everything, does everybody kind of understand these symptoms that patients that present with, and that have this understanding that those symptoms cover just a broad range of things? And it doesn't mean you have to have all of them. Look, I'm happy, I get up, I function, but boy, if I go out to work and there's a lot of traffic, and I'm not making the red lights, and now I'm late to work, now I have anxiety about being at work and what I'm going to accomplish at work, right? Okay. So if you think about depression this way, the central nervous system has all of these different receptors. Okay. And there's different medications for all of these different receptors to try to elicit this response in somebody to make them feel better. Is everybody with me? I'm going to let Donna, you nod because I think you can see faces and I can't. Okay. All right. So when you think about all of these different receptors and you think about the central nervous system and everything that's going on in our brain, I want you to visualize that they are train tracks, right? And there are thoughts and feelings and emotion that sits on the train, and the train drives its way down all of these different pathways through your brain. Your pathway that makes you feel good, that's dopamine. Your pathway that makes you have executive functioning, making choices, right? And when patients have depression, it means that these receptors aren't firing and receiving those messages to feel good or get up and go, or hey, it's time to go to sleep, or I just really don't know why I'm crying, right? And so we start off, patients usually will start the journey off with an SSRI, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Okay. So an SSRI is the gold standard. So I'll throw out Lexapro, Prozac, citalopram, sertraline, which is I'm going to be evasive about that. My favorite one to talk about is Lexapro, but any one of these that you could be on or have been on or have learned about, they all work the same way. The train travels on the track through the central nervous system the same way. Okay. So here's me, and we'll use me. I'm Annie. I'm not in my 20s anymore, but I'm, on the other half of that. And when I was in college, I, just had this really down episode. There was a lot of pressure on my plate. This was say in the year 2000, which is not true. FYI, not true. That was a longer ago, but we'll start with 2000. And I went to the internal medicine doctor on campus and they started me on sertraline, SSRI. And the SSRI worked for a while. I graduated college and then I got married and I got a job and then I had, my babies and, but then I went off the sertraline because you know what? Like I felt good and I felt fine. Okay. So that sertraline goes in and it's traveling along these pathways. And when it reaches a synapse, which is where a thought jumps from one place to another, it kind of gets dumped into all of this serotonin gets dumped into this synapse. And then it gets reuptaked. It's like a vacuum, like it kind of gets sucked up, if you will, right? And that's the way it works. And that's how they all work. Prozac, Lexapro, all of them, they all work the same way. So now I'm in my late 30s, let's say, and I'm sitting in my internal medicine doctor's office, and I'm getting my physical, and the doc says, "Well, I'm looking in your file, and it says that you were on sertraline, back, about 15 years ago. How are you feeling now?" Well, doc, I'm really glad that you asked me that because I'm like overwhelmed, man. I'm so overwhelmed. My job, my kids, my husband, a tree fell through our roof and I have to fight the insurance company. I can't get my thoughts together. And when I do, I'm just sad about it. And I don't really have the energy to do anything. I used to walk my dog. Now I have all I can do to get myself out to go to soccer practice for my kid. You know what, Annie? I hear what you're saying. Let's try you on Lexapro because it sounds like you have a little anxiety in there. Lexapro it is. Guess what? Lexapro is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, an SSRI. Okay. So, the doctor says to me, Annie, this is going to take about 4 to 6 weeks for you to start feeling better. Really? Because I feel so bad now. Now I got to wait 4 more weeks. Yes, Annie, but it's going to work. This Lexapro is going to work. Okay. Okay. So I come back to the doctor 4 weeks later and doc says, how are you feeling? Remember, same pathway as what I was on before. Well, you know what, doc? I feel a little bit better, I think, but like, I'm telling you, man, I just feel like there's this cloud over me. And I really like anything could tip me over the edge and I'll be crying. Anything like but I'm trying, I'm a mom. I got to work full time. I have all these responsibilities. You know what? We're going to add on Wellbutrin, ibupropion. All right. The Wellbutrin, well, I don't know what that is, doc. What is that? Well, right now, this Lexapro is working on your serotonin receptors. They're in your gut and in your central nervous system. Oh, FYI, less than 1% of the receptors that are in the central nervous system are serotonergic. Wow, doc, that sounds like you took that Lexapro and it's like throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what makes it, seeing if it sticks. Okay, less than 1%. Okay. Well, I'm going to add on this bupropion, and bupropion has norepinephrine in it. That's going to help your energy. And bupropion also has dopamine in it. And you know what? Dopamine is happiness. Dopamine is hope. All right. So I'm going to add this on. We're going to do it at this dose. Okay. And I'm going to see you in 4 weeks. 4 more weeks? Don't you have a pill that's like Amazon where I order it today and I get it tomorrow? Nope, that's not how depression works. It's a long, slow process. Trains don't just immediately get from 0 to 100. This is a long flowing process, right? Everybody's with me? Okay. So Annie goes home and she takes the Lexapro and she now has the Wellbutrin add-on. Okay. And I go back. Now I'm 8 weeks into this game. I'm 2 months into this game of just trying to feel better. And then the doctor says, how are you doing? Well, doc, I don't really know. I don't really know how I'm doing. I'm frustrated. I don't feel like it's working. I mean, some days I do feel better. Some days I don't feel better. I still have the urge to cry, but I'm a trooper. I'm a soldier. All right. So doc says, well, let's increase your dose. Let's increase the dose. Maybe you need more power. All right, so I'm gonna take a time out there. So doc has me on Lexapro, he's got me on Wellbutrin, and now he's gonna increase my dose with a medication that is traveling the same pathway, whether it's at 5 milligrams or 200 milligrams, it's traveling the same pathway in my brain. So we're going to stop right there and take a deep breath to understand the frustration that your depressed person in your life, or if you're one of those, peer educators, that person's expressing to you is that I'm going to the doctor, I'm doing what the doctor's told me to do, but I don't feel better. Okay, because whether it's Lexapro, sertraline, Prozac, Effexor, whatever, it's working the same way. All right, so we have to stop and pump the brakes and say, what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same result. So this is a really important message that I would share with you all today, is to understand the frustration that depressed patient goes through, because it is a process. It's like a science. It's like, well, let's try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try this. That didn't work. Okay. All right. So take a deep breath and think about that for a second. The story about Annie's on Lexapro and her Wellbutrin. She was on sertraline earlier in her career. That's now 3 medications that I've been on to treat my depression through the course of my life. Okay. So now we're going to take a time out from our Dr. Annie story, and we're going to talk about some statistics. Okay. There is a study, it's called the STAR-D study. And the STAR-D, it's a big study. It looked at several thousand patients over time. And it basically looked at levels of therapy. So in this story, right, I'm already on my 3rd level of therapy. Okay, I've had sertraline, Lexapro, and Wellbutrin. Any doctor, whether it's the psych or the primary care, their goal is to get this depressed patient into remission. What's remission? I feel good. I'm happy. I can go to work. I'm setting goals for myself. I'm enjoying spending time with my family. Whatever the symptom that's presenting, I'm overcoming it. Okay. So when a patient that's treatment naive, has never been on anything before, has these depressive symptoms, it's like an open window. Okay. This is the windowsill. Here's the window closed. This is where that patient is starting. So in our story, patient Annie started right here. Annie went on sertraline in her late 20s or early 20s, graduating college. It worked for a while, then it stopped working. Okay. Remember, the goal is remission. STAR-D tells us that with each therapy change, okay, so now I've had a therapy change, my window to remission gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Okay. So y'all are gonna talk to patients where they're like, well, have you ever been on a medicine? Nope, I've never been on a medicine. Oh yeah, I've been in this depression game a long time. I've been on a lot of different things. Okay. This is remission. This is happiness. This is feeling good, right? So science is begging us to come up with something, okay, that's going to help that. Okay. And so when we talk about it with providers, we talk about it, it's called the monoamine cycle. And that's, I'm going to try you on this depression medicine. I'm going to try you on this one. I'm going to increase your dose. I'm going to add on. And then after all of that, when that doesn't work, I'm going to look at you, the doctor's going to look at me and say, well, Annie, now we're back to our doctor story. Well, Annie, you've been on Lexapro, you're on the Wellbutrin. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add an atypical. Doctor, what's an atypical? Oh, it's an atypical antipsychotic. Wait, are you saying I'm psychotic? I'm psychotic? You're just the internal medicine doctor. I'm not even at the psychiatrist yet. Okay, because the other thing that we have to share with our patients out there is that there's many different levels to their depression, and where they fall in the line determines what medication they're going to get, right? And every single medication comes with a side effect profile, right? So one of the things that I neglected to tell the doctor is that the Lexapro is totally messing with my stomach. Like, I have GI issues, but look, I have so much anxiety. I just thought that my GI issues were because of the Lexapro as well, right? Here's another biggie. One of the reasons I forgot to tell you, Doc, when I was in college and I went on sertraline, it did work, but I went off of it because I put on 30 pounds, and I don't ever want to be that heavy again. It was really hard for me. Mess with my self-esteem as well. Okay. Okay. Now I'm in my late 30s, early 40s. and you got me on Lexapro and you got me on Wellbutrin. And I know this is going to be kind of embarrassing, but like I haven't had an orgasm with my husband in, in fact, I don't even feel like making love to my husband. It's just not for me. I don't even want to do it. Okay. Now, if you're the friend or the peer educator or the provider or whoever's listening to this, like that is not hope, that is not joy, and that is not fun. All right. So we know about Star D. We know how our window closes. How do we get this window to reopen? What do we have to do? Right. So this is where the drug that I represent comes from. This drug is called Auvelity. It's spelled Auvelity, Auvelity. I have painted a really pretty picture of a patient named Annie who has struggled with depression, overwhelming thoughts and feelings, and now she's further into her life, married, works full-time, kids, husband. Okay, now I got even more problems because my husband thinks I don't love him because I don't want to make love to him, but it's just the furthest thing from my mind, right? I need to feel good about me before I could even worry about that. Okay, so we talked about SSRIs. We talked about how they hit these different receptors. Okay, so we're going to stop and go back in our science lesson here. I shared with you that less than 1% of the receptors that are in the central nervous system are serotonergic, or I'm sorry, norepinephrine, or serotonergic and norepinephrine and dopamine, right? 46% of the receptors in the central nervous system are called glutamatergic receptors. Glutamate. Fancy word, Glutamate. Look it up, or I could do another session with you guys another time. Glutamate. Glutamate is directly responsible for memory. I don't know why I walked into this room. I really don't understand. Mood. I don't feel like doing it today. In fact, I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to call in. Cognition. Okay, if we have $400 in the bank account and I've got to pay this bill and I've got to do this and this one needs shoes and I need to do, like, I'm not even balancing my checkbook. I don't care. I can't do it. It's too overwhelming for me. And concentration, that focus, right? What if we had a medication, or let's ask ourselves, why hasn't there been a medication that's going to hit 46% of the receptors in the central nervous system to activate dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, all the receptors at the same time? Well, so glutamate, memory, mood, cognition, concentration. Here comes our drug called Auvelity, which I know you probably can't see that very well. Okay, you may have heard commercials on the TV. It's a little song, go with Auvelity. All right, here's how it works. So Auvelity is made up of cough syrup, Robitussin, Delsum, all right, and bupropion, which is Wellbutrin. Now remember, Annie's already on a Lexapro and a Wellbutrin, right? Okay. Wellbutrin is going to give you this norepinephrine, and norepinephrine is kind of like that push that activates you. And dopamine is the feel good. It's the hope receptor. It's the smile receptor. Okay. What it does, okay, is think of the train. We have our train tracks going through our central nervous system. Wellbutrin is the train, and the cough syrup rides in the train. Okay. The train goes zipping down the tracks of your central nervous system, of your receptors. All right. What the Wellbutrin does is it pulls out and it makes the magic of the cough syrup last a long time. If you just take cough syrup, it's going to stay in your body for like 3 to 4 hours. Okay. When this cough syrup that's in this little pill is with the Wellbutrin or the bupropion, it will stay in the system for 20 to 24 hours. It's the first thing that it does. The second thing it does is the Wellbutrin directs the traffic, so it will hit those glutamatergic receptors, memory, mood, cognition, concentration, which is something that the SSRI, the SNRI, and the atypical antipsychotic is not hitting. Okay? So now you have a medication that's going to hit these different receptors for patient Annie, who's been on multiple things already that isn't really working. Here's the beautiful thing. In 1 week, 7 days, 1 week, you will feel response with this medication. The cloud will lift. The rain will stop. 1 week. Why? Because it's a different mechanism of action. It's made up of two combined agents that, when they work together, create synergistic magic inside the central nervous system. And you will get a release, right? The other thing that it does, okay, is it actually, and this is kind of some high level science here, but it actually rebuilds some of these synapses in the brain. It's called dendritic regrowth. So when you think of a depressed person, these little synapses, if you think of them like flowers, right? They're blooming and they're growing. Okay, now I'm depressed. Now I'm sadder. Like I have all of these. Look at my flowers. They're not even blooming anymore. Okay, when you go on a different medication and you hit different receptors, those serotonergic receptors they kind of regrow and start to work again. Okay, so that's a really kind of easy way to think about like what's happening in this system. But you have a patient that's been on one or two things already. They are desperate and they are crying out to feel better and to have something different. And that is what Auvelity can offer to them. Okay, so take a deep breath right there. So what we know is Auvelity is going to hit glutamate, which is memory, mood, cognition, concentration. We know that Auvelity is going to hit these different receptors that will elicit a response a lot faster than your SSRI and your SNRI. Now, the side effects of this drug, okay, remember what I talked about earlier is that the Lexapro is tearing my stomach up. You know, I don't want to gain any weight, and I'm starting to gain some weight on the Lexapro. And I would really, you know, I love my husband, but I'm just totally not into that right now. So those, what I just described, weight gain, sexual side effect, those are the two big heavy hitters with any of your SSRIs and SNRIs. When you jump to atypical antipsychotics, I won't mention any names. We'll just say when you jump to some other medications, yes, they will hit other receptors, but they have a much more intense side effect profile. And, you know, one example would be tardive dyskinesia, which is when your face gets distorted. And once you get that, it never goes back. So it's like now we have our patient that has to try to decide, like, what can I take that is safe, that's going to make me feel good versus, you know, the risk of whatever side effect. So Auvelity's, it has a very favorable weight gain, and where it is negative 0.4 pounds. So I will tell my providers, look, it's not Wegovy or Ozempic by any means, but when you feel better, you're more active, you went out, took a walk, there you go. And it has the sexual side effect was so small, it didn't even show up in our 6-week, or I'm sorry, I lied. In our 6-week study, sexual side effects was 6% of patients discontinued out of 162. And I don't do math that fast in my head, but that's only like 4 patients out of 162 that discontinued. So, you know, it's a really clean medication that hits different receptors and elicits a really fast response. So, you know, now Annie, we're back to Annie, and I'm sitting there and the doctor goes, well, you were on this and you were on this and you were on this. You were on sertraline, Lexapro, and Wellbutrin. You didn't quite feel the response that you wanted, okay? And the reason I'm pointing this out to you is that the insurance companies are going to play, it's a game that they play, and these are the failures that, you know, you have to have a couple different failures before they'll approve certain medications. So the doctor says to me, Annie, I've got a medication for you that's going to hit different receptors. It's going to work really quickly, and it's got a really clean side effect. Well, what do you mean that it's going to work quickly? Well, within a week, you should feel better. Okay, yes, I would like to try it. So friends, that is Auvelity. So you kind of have the story of what a patient is going through and how they're feeling, and an option. This is an option for them to try. I'll open our floor up to questions.
Because it's new, what if the insurance doesn't cover it?
So we have some different programs. We have a patient assistance program through the company, And it's something that you can do online if you have a computer at home. If you don't, then you can do it with your provider, or if you don't, then maybe it's something that you can do with your peer counselor through NAMI. You go online, you fill it out, and you can, the medication would be sent to you for free. And insurance is insurance. Some people have really good insurance, some people have so-so insurance. It's available on Medicaid if there's Medicaid out there. So there's just all different kinds of ways to be able to obtain the medication. But I know that if you're in Citrus County and you let Miss Donna know or Miss Perry know what provider your patient, or if you're a peer counselor, Annie Ehler will be there to service that provider to make sure there are samples in there for you to stay on that medication until we can figure out how to get it to you.
Thank you, Annie. You're the best.
You're welcome.
That was a great question. Does anybody else have any questions? What if my provider doesn't want to provide it?
Okay, well then you're gonna have to if your provider doesn't want to provide it, it's very simple to ask why. Hey doc, I saw this commercial for Auvelity. Okay, now my company is we're doing a huge expansion. This drug is now 4 years old, so it's 4 years old in the drug world is still considered very new. But it's not new because we're on everybody's formulary. If a doctor says that they don't want to do it, it could just simply mean that they don't know about it. Well, they're not going to tell you that because they're the doctor, right? But just say, doc, I saw this drug on TV, or I had a presentation on it. I'd like to learn more. And then, ask them, what doctor is going to say no that they're not going to help you? Absolutely, your general practitioner can provide it. And that's what I was saying is like, I'm only one person and there's a lot of general practitioners out there, but I'm getting there. I had a lunch with a general practitioner or internal medicine up in Gainesville today. So, and this was the first time he had heard of Auvelity and he wanted to know more. But the best advocate, friends, is yourself. You have to advocate for yourself.
So I'll be real honest and upfront. Hi, I'm Cindy.
Hi.
Hi. I went on Wellbutrin about almost 5 years ago. And yeah, it's doing its thing, but I am having some of those side effects. And I still am not the happy person that I used to be and want to be. I have a GP who I like my GP. I like my RN. I'm not so sure I like my GP. She will tend to be, well, you seem to know what drug you want, so, you tell me, and just very, kind of narrow-minded. I'm not convinced that if I go to her that she's going to be like, well, what makes you think you want to try it? You're already on Wellbutrin. So
Okay,
that
good
would
question.
be then, like, how do I address that? I can't very well say to her, well, you need more education.
Right.
Right. What would for people like myself, what would that path look like, do you think, Annie?
Okay. So I want to address that in two ways. All right.
Yeah.
I want to give you kind of like, if you're Dr. Cindy, right? Okay. So, that's one of the big hurdles that we have. Our company Axsome has right now when we're talking with primary care, because they hear dextromethorphan, which is the cough syrup, and they hear Wellbutrin or bupropion. Okay. But remember when I was talking about this, the star of the show is the dextromethorphan. The Wellbutrin's just servicing a job to direct traffic. So that's my job to educate them on the understanding of where the Wellbutrin fits in this drug and why it's working the way it works. Okay, that's number one. Okay, let's take Cindy as an example, right? Cindy says, well, I'm on the Wellbutrin and I think it's working, but so Cindy's going to say, well, I don't want to go on another drug that has Wellbutrin in it because the Wellbutrin I'm on isn't even really working good enough for me anyway. Okay, again, it's remembering that in this drug, the star of the show is the dextromethorphan or the cough syrup. The Wellbutrin's function is to direct traffic so it hits the right receptor at the right time. Okay. Now, the therapeutic dose of most Wellbutrin patients starts at 150. It goes up to 200, 300, 350, 400. The therapeutic dose in this drug is only 210 milligrams. That's not a lot of Wellbutrin power because remember, it's doing something different in this drug. Okay. So if the Wellbutrin is managing how you feel, right? This is now we're going to go to pathway number 3. Cindy's now sitting in front of her GP, her doctor, her nurse practitioner. Hey, I just learned about this drug called Auvelity. Okay, yeah, tell me about it. Or Cindy, you're always so well educated. You usually tell me what to provide or what to write for you, but you're already on Wellbutrin, so why do you want to take another drug? Well, because to my understanding, provider, the Wellbutrin is only one aspect of this medicine. It's the cough syrup or the dextromethorphan that's in this drug that's going to do something different for me. And I feel like I need to try that right now. Could we look into this together? Or get the name of your GP to Donna, and she can just, all of you out there, if and she could just say, hey, Annie, my team from our meeting suggested that you go call on Dr. Johnson, Dr. Smith, Dr. Jones, and Dr. whomever. And I'll be happy to go in there and make my call and say, hey, I'm Auvelity, and I just would like to educate. And that's all we can do. Mm-hmm. But the advocacy for yourself is that this drug is different, and I need to hit different receptors because my SSRI and the Wellbutrin are not getting me where I need to be. And I know I know there's a better life for me. Was that helpful, Cindy?
That was helpful, and I'm gonna poke again. So I am only on 100 milligrams of Wellbutrin, mm-hmm. and I will bet you any money she's going to say, well, let's put you on 200 because of this whole step thing that the insurance mm-hmm. companies want, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to just keep increasing this drog. And that's my option, right?
Right. I mean, so what you're going to say to her is this. You're going to say, however you want to do it, literally, like one thing is you could put into Chat GPT, I want to change my medication. How can I have a conversation with my doctor and read it to her? That's one thing. But it goes back to what I was sharing with you all earlier. Is your SSRIs, your SNRIs, your dopamine thing, they follow, it's this, you're walking on the same path over and over again. So you would turn around and ask her, she's going to say, well, Cindy, you're only on 100 milligrams. Let's go ahead and up you to 200. Then do what you just did to me. Okay, nurse practitioner, I'd like to poke at this just a little bit. Why do you think that adding more is going to help me? It's more potent, but isn't this drug following the same pathway in my central nervous system? If this pathway if I haven't felt what I need to feel now, why would adding more do it?
See, this is why we have these educational series, right, Ms. Donna? I mean, because I'll stop taking up the time, but I feel much better about my next appointment. So thank you, Miss Annie.
Yes, and just Cindy, go with Auvelity, and you literally just in your search window type Auvelity, and everything that I talked about will be there. So,
Cindy, from a prior auth perspective, like you mentioned for insurance, just from my experience, they never ask about dosing ever. They only ask about medication trials. So if anybody ever tells you that, oh, you have to try 300 before, we have to go up in a dose before XYZ, that's not true. I've never been asked doses. I've only been asked from insurance companies, have they tried this medication? Have they tried that medication? And what did it do? So
okay, thank you, Ms. Perry.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're going to be great, Cindy.
This is fabulous conversation. Does anybody else have any questions? You can, if you don't want to ask directly, you can put them into the chat or you can come off mute. Elaine?
Yes.
I think I saw you come off mute, so go for it.
Okay, so I'm like Cindy. I've been on different I've been on Zoloft to start with back years and years ago. And it kind of started like when I was having my children, and it was kind of like a postpartum depression thing. And that's when I went on Zoloft, and I changed from that to I was taking Lexapro, and then I was taking Lexapro and Wellbutrin together. The Wellbutrin was for daytime, and the Lexapro was taken at night for to help sleep, and it really didn't. But we did a gene site test,
Yep.
and that showed that Wellbutrin was, sorry, I got to plug my computer up before it dies on me, was the drug of choice for me, like for me and targeting. I don't know how that works, how the gene site test works. You may know. But anyway, that's what I've been taking. Okay, so I've been moved up from 150 to 300 milligrams. It works well for me. It really does. I mean, because I thought, there for a while, because I went through a really horrible divorce, and that's when the Wellbutrin was really necessary at that time. And it got me through that. And then years after that, I thought, well, maybe I'll be okay to quit taking this, And I did. Of course, I kind of went off of it slowly. I didn't just abruptly. My doctor helped me with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And about a month after I quit taking it, I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about, but intrusive thoughts. Like I would have intrusive thoughts that, like something was going to happen when it, I didn't have no idea if it was going to happen or not, but I worried about it, and I just had it in my head that something bad was going to happen all the time. So I just decided that I needed to go back on it, and it's really helped. So I don't know if I might be, I'm so scared of changing because
Of course.
of, the ones that haven't worked and the ones that have actually had adverse effects rather than, helping me, because Wellbutrin is really the only thing that I found that helps.
Okay.
So what do you think? I mean, is this something that
Okay, so just a couple clarifying things. I just want to make sure that everybody understands when you take a gene site test, the gene site test looks at how your body metabolizes the drug. So it's not like, oh, I took this test and it shows me, oh, this drug is going to be great. This drug's going to be great. It just shows how your body's going to metabolize it. And if your body metabolizes it well enough. So it's not just oh, these are the drugs that are in green. I can take all of these. You could take them, but you could have terrible side effects. Who knows?
Yeah.
And in this forum for this discussion, like I can't say yay or nay exactly to your question, other than it's like what you just said to me, exactly the way you just explained it would be how I would explain it to your provider. And then the question could be something like, Doc, do you think that if I hit some different receptors, that would be better for me?
Okay.
And you have to understand too, like you hit the nail on the head, and I know that Perry will say the same thing. That's probably the number one thing that patients will say in response is like, oh man, another change, or I've been on this medication for such a long time. Think about it like this, okay? You have had this back pain in your back for months and months and months and months and months. And they're like, you need to go to a chiropractor. No, I'm not going. You need to go to, no, I don't want to go. And then, but you just get along with this back pain. You just get up and go, and you do the best you can, but that pain is always there. Well, one day you finally go, fine, I'll go see the chiropractor. And they go click, click, and the pain is gone. The pain is gone. Like, oh my gosh. So, but you have walked around with that pain in your back for all that time that it became normal for you, right? And that's one of the big things with depression. We are all survivors at the end of the day, right? We're all survivors. We want to live, we want to do things, we want to laugh, we want to play, but it's like people get afraid of change because this is the way I felt for all this time. What is feeling good going to feel like? That makes me nervous. I don't want to do it. So again, what I would suggest for you, Miss Elaine, is ask questions. Ask your provider ask questions. How would it make me feel? What do you think? Do you really think if you increase the dose, that's okay? Fine, I'll give it another month. And then, it doesn't mean that Auvelity is the answer. It could be another medication or another combo of medications. But You don't get anywhere unless you ask questions.
Yeah. And my provider is really, well, she's actually a good friend of mine, and she's all about
Fabulous.
whatever I need or whatever I want, she's
Fabulous.
willing to help me get it. Um,
Fabulous.
the only side effect, and I don't know that it's necessarily, menopause is a big thing, and I've went through menopause, and I've gained weight, and it's hard. And
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the Wellbutrin, um, but when I went off of it, I didn't really have much luck losing any weight. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but I've maintained my weight. But
Okay.
I am a little bit overweight, and I would like to be able to find something that I could maybe lose. I'm not. I know, like everybody's on Ozempic or Wegovy or something, and
Right.
like I don't know. I'm just not willing. I'm not a medicine person, but I do recognize that when we have chemical imbalances in our brain, that's
Mm-hmm.
just something we have to address,
That's right.
And this kind of medicine is just something I don't play around with. It's just
Right.
like, no, I need it. I
Yep.
want what's best for me.
Yep. Yep. I would just encourage you just again just to ask questions and with your provider really evaluate like how you are feeling. Because again, like there's all these receptors in the brain, and what fires and works for this can work for something else. And one thing I did mention at the beginning of our talk, and I kept it kind of clinical, but that talk therapy or working with your therapist is really, really important too. Because once we can kind of get the chemical side under control, we have to have the tools and the talk and all of that. But at the end of the day, Miss Elaine, if you feel good, then you're going to go out for your walk, or you're going
Mhm.
to and get on your bike and pedal, or get in the pool and walk around in the water, like whatever, however you enjoy to move your body, and that ultimately, it's all of those combinations of things. So again, my advice would be ask questions. Hey, what do you think? Do you think I need different receptors? How, how is this going to make me feel? And that's the thing. That's another role that I provide is I have samples. Those are free. You take it for the first 3 or 5 days, and you start feeling better, because like I said, with this medicine, you'll feel better in 5 to 7 days. You will feel a response. If it didn't work for you, then you stop taking it and go back to what you were on. Like, no harm, no foul.
So if I change to that, would you just stop taking the Wellbutrin and start taking the other?
Okay,
Like,
that's all a conversation for you and your provider. I
okay,
can't weigh in on that.
okay,
There's a method to the madness, what they're going to do, how they're going to switch you and all of that, but that's them.
okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. I'll turn it back to you, Miss Donna, because we are at just about the top of the hour. I don't remember. I think we only had an hour.
Yeah, we are about there. I just want to make sure that no one has any other questions before we call it a day. Thank you so much, Miss Annie.
You're
That
welcome.
was information packed and amazing. I'm just going to drop our NAMI Citrus link back in here in the chat. And I'm going to make a last call for questions. Going once, going
I'll
twice.
I'll
Go
close
ahead.
out with saying if you've learned anything from me, just remember that the best thing to do is to be the voice for yourself, or the voice for your patient, or whoever's talking, if they're going to you for advice, or you're going to them for advice, and asking questions. And
Mhm.
ultimately that's the provider's job, to be there to answer your question. No, we don't. Oh, I don't know. I don't offer a certificate. I give you a high five though, Miss Elaine.
Elaine, Miss Elaine, no, there's no certificate for this educational presentation, but we are so glad you're here and we hope you got something out of it. All right. Well, thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.